Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Command Your Brand Show. I'm your host, Alex Latronico, brand ambassador of Command Your Brand. We help CEOs and founders to get their messages out onto top-rated podcasts. Go ahead and grab our new book, ranked the #1 PR book on Amazon at bestpodcastbook.com. Now, a reminder before we get into today's conversation to comment on, like this video, and smash the subscribe button if you want to command your brand through the power of podcasting. Now, the guest that we have here today, a very wonderful guest and very impressive in my opinion here. Today we have Jessie Jackson. She's the entrepreneur behind Mango Automotive, which is a fast-growing multi-market repair group built through strategic acquisitions and operational excellence. She blends sharp business instincts with a creative, people-first leadership style and runs 8 businesses, generating 8 figures, proving her ability to scale multiple ventures simultaneously. Her life operates at extremes, balancing 7 kids at home with 8 shops to run, managing multi-million-dollar deals while navigating daily challenges, and learning that energy, not time, is the true currency of growth. Jessie's story spans bold deals, rapid expansion, and mindset shifts required to build something bigger than yourself. And with that, I'd like to welcome Jessie Jackson. How's it going?
Thank you. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. And I am just very much impressed at how you're able to juggle 8 different businesses and 7 kids. I can't even imagine just juggling 7 kids.
Well, I don't like to be bored, so I've designed a life where I'm never bored.
I like that. I like that approach very much. Now, I was just questioning. So in regards here, it says that you really like to learn how to really grow the energy and versus valuing time. I have to ask, how many cups of coffee do you drink a day?
Well, I gave up espresso recently. And I previously only drank espresso so that I could fall asleep at night. So sort of the opposite. I needed the high so I could come down from it. But I've got my tea here.
Nice. I switched over to my tea this morning as well.
All right.
Perfect. Now, I know that in your, within Mango Automotive, if I recall, you started Mango Automotive with no industry experience. Is that correct?
Something like that, yeah.
Well, what gave you the confidence to dive in without that experience?
Well, I won't say you have to be confident to do something. You can actually do it poorly and just do it, and which will make you miles ahead of millions of people who didn't do it because they didn't have the confidence. I think that has been a key to my whole life. When some people see a mountain in front of them, they spend a lot of time preparing to climb that mountain and perhaps never climb it. And I just put one foot in front of the other and proceed until something stops me.
I really like that mentality. I felt when I was reading, it was just, I find myself being more on the prepared side of things. I like taking extra preparations, make sure things are great. But it's true. Until you actually put your foot into it, it doesn't really matter how much you study, and you're going to figure out everything as you go along anyways, and half of what you prepared for goes right out the window. At least in my experience.
For sure, yeah. I'm more of a put the wheels on while you're driving the car kind of girl. I'm married to a man who has a PhD in nuclear physics, so he is quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. I think, you got to know your strengths and play to those strengths. Anything can work. You got to be true to yourself, and he's made it work to do a lot of research about every move.
Excellent. All right. Well, I see. So you run 8 locations and it's producing 8 figures. So how do you prioritize and manage all of these locations effectively?
So in our life journeys, especially when it comes to our careers or our work, one thing that I've found that's been critical in my growth journey is to let go of things, which might seem silly, but let me take it back for you. So there was a time when I was building websites many, many years ago, and I was writing the copy and making the logo and actually building the website. So it took a lot of time and finding the clients and doing the invoicing, right?
Right.
So if you think about your personal capacity, you have to give up some things if you want to grow. So if I wanted to build more websites, I needed to give up some things. And I remember the first time I hired a designer to be on my team, it felt really scary. And it felt like I'm now paying that designer all of my income. So I might not get paid for a minute unless I really increase the number of clients that we have. And so there was that leap forward, right? I hired the designer and then the developer, which sort of propelled that growth forward. And it's been the same in automotive. I have been very lucky and I'm super thankful to have found my business partner. He's our COO and he makes all the magic happen inside the shops. He and I grew to 5 shops, just he and I. So we were, again, we were HR, we were marketing, we were finance, we were, managing the shops. And we were very busy. And we knew we wanted to grow more. And we thought if we're going to grow more, we're going to have some other people on our team. So that's the point when we hired a district manager who is amazing. We have human resources, we have finance. So now we have a whole team that works with us. And the key has been hiring people who are better than us. So actually, the company is being better served by us not doing everything.
That makes sense. It makes sense too, because I remember, I like to study and read a lot of different things between businesses, sales, marketing, dieting. I have an insane collection of books I like to go through in my spare time. And one of the key data points that I've studied with successful leadership is exactly what you mentioned. You want to, like, a good leader is not just somebody who knows how to do everything, but finds people to be able to do those things. And it makes sense because at some point there's how many bricks can you lay as a bricklayer in any given day? There's just you're going to get it to
a
the
moment
limit.
when you think, I am the best bricklayer. And if I hire someone to lay bricks, they're not going to do it right. And I think that it's true that they're not going to do it exactly how you do it. But it is also true that you can find people who will do it better if you can get past the mentality that you're the only one who can do it perfectly.
Yes, I understand. It's always a fun mentality to break through. All right, and then you do emphasize energy over time as like a growth driver. How is it that you do maintain high energy across so many ventures?
I think it's more about thinking when I think about myself, I think I've limited energy. I think we each have limited energy. And, the saying is that time is money, but I think really energy is money. So I have noticed over the years that I can use up all that energy at work. And then when I'm with my kids, I have nothing to give them, right? So the key is really being aware of that, how much energy you have, and making sure that you have energy for all the things that are important. Because I think if you did an analysis of how you spent your day, for most Americans, there is probably some stuff in there that needed to be done, like scrolling or watching and like, why do we do those things? I know I find myself, doing something on my phone that's, akin to scrolling when I just don't have any energy left. And it's sort of like occupying my mind to do that scrolling. So that's how I sort of became aware, like, it's not the hours in the day. Maybe for some people who have unlimited energy, but I think for most of it's not the hours in the day that you have. It's how you get to spend them. And if we're depleting ourselves in one aspect of our lives, then there's nothing left to give in the other spaces.
Yes, that definitely makes sense. Okay. And I guess, tell me how you got into the automotive industry.
Yeah. So my career journey has been funny because I started in environmental engineering
Mhm.
And then I had my first baby. I remember my boss called me when she was like 2 weeks old and said, "When are you coming back?" And I thought, I cannot even take a shower. I do not know how I could get myself dressed and come to work. And the
Right.
bottom sort of fell out of that field while I was on my maternity leave. It was the 2007, 2008 crash. We were very government funded. My boss lost his job. So then I was swirling around in mom mode for a while. I just was sewing my kids' clothes and making yogurt at
I mean,
home.
it's
But when I came out of that, I remember I had gone to a printer and gotten something printed, and I had to use his software to print this thing. And the software
Mhm.
was awful. And I told the owner, "I can fix this software for you." And for some reason, he said, "Okay." And I sent him an invoice and he paid it. And then we worked on that software. So I ended up in this software space, and it just so happened that I worked on a software project in the automotive space before we sold to private equity. Since I
Okay.
was working on that project, I knew a ton about the automotive space because I was chief product officer. So our job is to understand the product, understand the space we're working in, understand the customers. So I understood that automotive was very fragmented, that there were a ton of owners looking to retire out of the space, that it was aging, that it was undergoing another transformation into electric vehicles. So there were a lot of really positive things about it. So when we sold that company to private equity, I chose to get into brick and mortar acquisitions. I think I was a little bit tired of software too.
It's fair. Well, nice. Okay, great. And then I was really curious as well. So I noticed that, branding is a very big focus for you. So I guess what makes a shop truly memorable to customers?
I'll tell you, well, what doesn't make a shop memorable. You walk into an automotive repair shop and there's a pot of burnt coffee, oil stains all over the furniture, and a 10-year-old Sports Illustrated on the coffee table, which is offending 65% of their buyers. That is the standard shop experience. So
Right,
when
right.
people walk into a Mango Automotive, they literally will walk in the doors, look around, look very confused, walk back out of the shop, look up at our sign that says Mango Automotive, and walk back in. Like they were not sure that they had actually walked into an automotive repair shop.
That's
So
funny.
part of it is that feel where you come in and it's just a place where you are happy to be, and it's fine if you need to wait. You can, comfortably bring out your laptop or take care of your kids in the space. It's not disgusting. So some of
Mhm.
that is just raising the bar of the customer experience. And
That's
but
amazing.
more to your question on the branding side, when
Mhm.
I wanted to name our business Mango Automotive, my business partner said, "I do not like that." My husband said, "Hell no." Even my mother-in-law said, "That's an awful name." But I looked around and there were basically 2 categories of how you name an automotive shop. One is some kind of automotive pun like Wrenchworks, and the other is your name or your initials. So
Mhm.
JJ's Automotive. And when we named it Mango, the competitors in our
I mean, it's
town hated it, and they talked so much smack about it, but I said to them, "But you never forget it."
it is true. It definitely sticks out. That
So
is
so
Mhm.
it's been cool to build a little brand around it. We have a character named Mia that my daughter named. She's a little
Aw,
mango with arms and legs, and we have a Mia stuffy in every shop, so
that is
we've had a little
adorable.
fun with it.
I love it. I love it. And I love the creativity behind everything. It's very nice, and it's small choices like that can create such a big major shift, right? It's because it's always fascinating whenever you see people wanting to look, or at least for myself, it's when I want to look into trying to build up something. It is always I guess easier to get into the comfort of what's already pre-established. So you're like, oh well, that's already working. Let me kind of like jump in. But yeah, I mean, going Mango, it's true. Nobody's ever going to forget an automotive repair shop called Mango.
That's
It's
why
just going to stick.
my, partner, Brian, and I make great we have a great partnership. And one of the reasons is that I try to break things and he puts them together. But really, I'll say, why do we do this? And he'll say, well, this is how it's done in automotive. And then that's sort of a leaping off point for us to, go back to understand why it's done that way and if that's the right way to do it and if we still want to do it that way, because there are so many things in a business that you take for granted, and even not in a business, in our culture, that you take for granted, and that's just sort of the way it's done. So part of it is questioning the establishment there.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. And now, speaking of the overall growth, obviously you guys started off at 1 location, you're now built up to 8 locations. So I guess what would you say would be like a mindset shift that's required to go from just being like a shop owner to becoming like a multi-locational entrepreneur?
You just have to want it. And a lot of business owners don't want it. So especially in my industry, there's a lot of aging business owners. So they're thinking about retiring and winding down. They don't want to grow. They often know what it would take to grow their existing business, but that's not what they want. They love interacting with customers. And as you add additional shops to your portfolio, your job changes. So if that's interesting to you and an owner and thrilling as I find it and you want to do it, I think there's a ton of opportunity to grow. As I've been coaching people in how to do acquisitions over the last 3 or 4 years, I have coached hundreds of people through acquisitions. And there does always seem to be this mental component, which we refer to as mindset. And it's really interesting because these people have paid for coaching. And the steps are fairly straightforward to make an acquisition. And I would argue that anyone can execute those steps. And even if you execute them poorly, you will eventually stumble upon an acquisition because you'll find a seller who's motivated and really wants to get out of their business so they can retire or move to Florida or whatever, and will practically hand you their business if you just do the steps. So as I'm coaching them every week, they have homework. So I'll say, your homework is XYZ this week, and they'll come back next week and the homework wasn't done. And is it because they didn't have the 45 minutes to do the homework? Almost never, right? We do the things that are important to us. So what is it then? It is some fear about something down the road. If I do this, then what's going to happen to my current business? So what? Just fear gets built up in their minds, and it stops them from taking that next step. So a lot of times we have to go back and work through that mindset situation and figure out what's going on with them, that they are paying for a program and then sabotaging themselves by not doing the homework.
Right. Interesting. And I guess, this question might be pretty too generalized, but I was just curious, is there like any particular method that you use to kind of help coach the person through these fears that they might be running into?
When we talk about the mindset, I'm pretty analytical, so I do a couple of things. One is just to ask the questions directly. And I can be a little bit rough, like, why didn't you do that? Oh, and you didn't have to. Okay, I don't believe you. Let's keep going. It's sort of the 7 whys finally get you to the truth. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's keep going until we finally admit to something that is lying underneath. And I think that just the process of uncovering what's actually stopping the person from doing the steps that are going to grow their business and career is the work. A lot of times when they see that directly, oh, I didn't even realize that I didn't make those calls because I am afraid of having to work 90 hours a week, right? Just bringing that into the light, now we can deal with it and process it and figure out if this is what we really want and know that we're blocking ourselves and move forward.
Excellent. That makes sense. And now, obviously, you have a lot going on your plate. So I guess what made you want to start also coaching and helping others with expansion and moving forward, or these acquisitions? So like, what motivated you to also jump into this realm of the game, I should say?
As we talk to a lot of business owners, there are business owners that want to sell their business, that they want to retire, but we can't help for various reasons. Sometimes they are too small. Sometimes there's a mismatch between what they need to get out of the business and the actual business value. And so we started coaching in growth because we see an average compound annual growth rate in our shops of around 30% year over year. So we started doing that growth coaching. And then we uncovered an additional owner who doesn't want to sell their business because they want to grow, but they don't know how to do acquisitions. So that's how we sort of fell into these coaching plays, because we're about a couple of things at Mango. One is have fun. And that's important to us because you spend so much time at work. So you better enjoy it. I think a lot of people feel this way. And if you have the liberty of having your own company, I hope that you're able to build that in, because we have almost 100 employees. They all come to work every day and they're what makes Mango happen. And I'm not saying every moment needs to be enjoyable for them.
Right.
But in general, I want it to be a place where they like to come and they have fun doing it. We're at our jobs at least 40 hours a week, so it's super critical to enjoy what you're doing. But the other aspect is, as we're doing acquisitions, we do really want to help people. So when we encounter a business owner, if they don't want to sell, we're never trying to talk them into. We're showing up for shop owners who really want to retire and spend more time with their families, who are worn out of the business, who don't want to own it. So much so that multiple times businesses that we've purchased, the owners have said, I prayed for you to call me for years. I'm so thankful that you finally called me. So that's how we grew into coaching, because we want to help people even if we can't acquire their businesses.
Nice. That makes total sense. And I guess, like, looking back in your career, what would be one lesson about risk and action that you wish every entrepreneur would know?
This is maybe an Elon Musk quote. I mean, I think we all know if we're entrepreneurs, but being the CEO is eating glass, because all the business's hardest problems come to you. And when we get into entrepreneurship, I think that we know that it's going to be hard. We know it's going to be really hard. And we know that we're trading a guaranteed paycheck where we work 40 hours a week for a maybe paycheck where we work 100 hours a week. Yeah. And then on top of that, it's harder than we actually think that it's going to be. One thing that has definitely helped me is to be generous in my business and to always reach for people who have done things that I'm trying to do. So that means that we have given away some equity to people who are really helping the business, or people who we're learning from. And I will never regret that. Equity can feel like, to an entrepreneur, something that they really want to hold on to. But I believe that the more you give away, the more you grow. And then you just have a smaller piece of a bigger pie, and you get to help those other people along the way. So I think it's a win-win situation, and we shouldn't look at it as something where there's not enough to go around, because honestly, I couldn't have built Mango if it was just I couldn't have built Mango if I didn't bring on Brian in the beginning. We couldn't have built it if we didn't find Bobby. We couldn't have built it without one of our mentors. So all of these pieces it takes a village truly to, build a business, just like it takes a village to raise a child. So that's important that you're able to incorporate other people.
I like that. I think that is a very important thing to know. Definitely something that, whenever I had some entrepreneurial ideas myself in the past, I would definitely shoehole and try to see exactly how much I can do and how much I can fit in for everything. But I think you're right. It really is a company or a business endeavor. It really is a group activity. And you have to really just make sure everybody's happy and winning. At the end of the day, it's a fun game with a lot of risk, but also a lot of reward.
Yeah, it's win, win, win. And a little plug for acquisitions. I was in the startup world for over a decade. You give your blood, sweat, and tears at the chance of having an exit. And when you acquire a business, you acquire something that's already profitable and it already has customers. And it's much more of a sure bet. I'm sure you've heard the statistics about the number of startups that fail. I won't quote one because they're very variable, but let's just say the majority of startups fail. But when you make an acquisition, you already have a profitable business that you're acquiring. And you can finance that business in a lot of creative ways that are not the SBA, that are not money out of your own pocket. So that's pretty cool. If you think about when you're looking at doing an acquisition, your goal is to find something that works for the business owner and something that works for you. So that might look like you're paying the business owner payments out of the business as it runs because they just want to have a retired check, right? So there's lots of creative ways to think about it. So if you're an entrepreneur and you've been building things from scratch, I encourage you to either do acquisition add-ons or have your next play be an acquisition if this one doesn't work.
Excellent. I do like that very much. I think that I have to do a little bit more homework myself as well with acquisitions. I like that idea very thoroughly.
Well, Jeremy's going to be mad at me if I'm knocking out of jobs.
Oh, no, we'll still do fine.
Yeah.
I don't think I would stop doing these podcasts. I enjoy that very thoroughly. And just being able, I've always loved, my career path has always been very wildly varied. And I've gotten myself into all these different kinds of circles because I've just been so naturally curious about life and the people that I interact with on a daily basis and the people that I don't interact with. And so, being able to do these podcasts and reach out and being able to talk to, people who are really making an impact in the world. I don't think I can ever give this up. This is just way too much fun.
Okay, but Alex, I have to ask you a question.
Yes.
Do you only read books that fit into your background? How'd you get all those matching books there?
So that is more of like a different collection of sets, but no, I'm so wildly varied with different books, even things that would make no sense for me to read or things I've never even come across. I was always more interested in like sales and businesses, but now I have a whole bunch of different books on dieting. And somehow I found a textbook on like ancient healing techniques and practices that I have from like 2,000, 3,000 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
So
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I just find a book that looks mildly interesting in any capacity, or it's an aspect of life that I'm like, hey, I've never entertained that before. All right, let me add that to my collection now.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. All right. Well, I do appreciate so much with you spending your time with us today. And so for the people that are listening to us, how would they be able to find you and connect with you?
You can email me. I'm Jessie, JESSE at mangoautomotive.com. Or you could find me on LinkedIn. I'm not very responsive there. Email's the best way. Let's go with email.
Perfect. Okay, great. And is there like a website or something they can go to, or is it best just to email you?
If you're interested in doing acquisitions, I do have a tool. It's at autorepairqueen.com/invest. And that tool can help you understand how adding an auto repair shop or any services-based business to your portfolio can create recession-proof cash flow. So it's free. You can go there and check it out.
Perfect. Awesome. I appreciate that. I'll make sure to add that link down in the bottom so that whoever wants to go ahead, they can go ahead and click on it and get some more information.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Alex.
Of course. Thank you so much for your time. And with that, guys, I just wanted to set a reminder that if you enjoyed today's episode, to make sure that you like that button, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for future episodes.